I believe that it is fascinating how things work out. I've had this on my mind already because, well, it's the next part of Mark. And so we went over the verses that we did this morning. Right after that is the account of Jesus calming the storm. Not just too long ago, we had a tornado warning and thunderstorm, and weren't sure if this was going to happen, if we're going to be here. Here we are. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to change my lesson. And then it all worked out because the lesson I had for the question and answer goes perfectly with the lesson for the AM next time, and it's just all working out. I want you to think about this account where the wind and waves obey Jesus. The wind and waves obey Jesus. Jesus calms the storm. Here he's at the seaside of Galilee. He just finished his parables, especially the one with the parable of the sower, and then some other parables that go along with it. Now that they have this on their mind, he gives the command. The command is to go forth. All was calm. They ventured out to the sea. And what's interesting about this lake here, here's a kind of a map of it. You kind of see that it's a small lake. It is 30 miles of seashore. And if you were to measure, distance east, west, north, south, we got 13 miles by 7.5 miles. So it's a very small lake, very calm. Seems like it's setting in a bowl, sort of. And, what could go wrong? We have Jesus. We have a calm little tiny lake. Not only that, we have boats that are surrounding us. It's not like they're completely alone. I mean, they got all the support that they need. They obeyed Jesus just as they were told without hesitation or fear. What could go wrong? Then comes the crisis. A sudden tempest or storm. It's without warning. They're unprepared. How do we handle this? I'm going to show you another map. Now, if you notice right here, this is the Sea of Galilee, a very tiny little lake. If you notice right above it, there are two mountain ranges, the Lebanon mountain ranges. One's the Lebanon, one's the anti-Lebanon. But there's these two big mountain ranges. You can kind of see how it comes into a funnel. Well, when the winds come south, they go through these mountain ranges, and what's happening as they're coming down, the pressure is building up. It's almost as if you put your finger on top of the water hose with the tip, and you got the water spray out really quick. That's what's happening here. The pressure is building up, and guess where it hits? It hits right there, the Sea of Galilee. What could go wrong? Well, the way God set it up, there's winds that could come that can cause great tragedy. Actually, you look at Joshua chapter 11, and there's a city right above it, Hazor, and it was set on fire. And the fire was great. It was a great fire that burned everything. And archaeologists, they go in there and they dig around and they see things that were burned up. And when they look at it, the fire would have been 1,200 degrees. Now that's not your normal fire. Fire's hot. We're talking about 600-700 degrees. This is 1,200. Why was it so great? Because if you set a city on fire right here, the pressure is going to build up, and the winds are going to make it go more. It's going to feed the fire. That's the type of winds we're talking about. And it's given to us there also in the Greek. In verse 37, and a great windstorm. That word right there is mega. It was a mega. It's where we get our word mega. It's megos. We get mega. It's a mega windstorm. It beat into the ship. The ship started to fill with water. Well, we all know what that means when the ship starts filling up with water. Then comes the cry. They feared for their life. This is where the fear came. You got tragedy. Now, they didn't wake him up to, just calmly say, we know that you can do all things. Can you please tell the storm to stop? No, instead they say, why, Master, why do you sleep in the back of the boat? Do you not care that we perish? Luke will say, why do you not care that we're going to die? They have already in their mind said, we're going to die. That's it. And in our last moments, we're going to tell the Lord, why? Why didn't you help us? Questioning him. They forgot all that he did. He healed the leper. He healed the paralytic, the man with the withered hand. He healed all these people with demons. They had all the evidence. They suddenly forgot it at the moment of crisis. This is actually what happens today. We're going through life. We're seeing how everything's going great. We're doing what Jesus says. And then something happens. And then we're all afraid. And then we're like, okay, that's it. This is it. Lord, what are we going to do? Here comes the calm. He says, peace, be still. Very, very calm words. He doesn't have to go hours and hours of trying to say this big old formula. He just says, peace, be still. And the wind stopped. And there was a great calm. Great calm. Simple words. Then comes the correction. He said to them, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And isn't it something that in verse 41, their reaction is they fear. He says, why are you so fearful? And then they fear. Okay? But there is still a change, you see. There is fear of the storm, this sense of timidity, this nervousness towards this entity, and then Jesus. He says these words very calmly, and they still fear, but now their fear is directed in another direction. They fear now the Lord. They said, who can this be, that even the wind and sea obey him? To me, that's amazing because, if I were to see someone with a demon, they have a demon, they're demon possessed, and Jesus says, come out of the man. I would think, wow, he can do all things. But these disciples, they just don't understand the full power of Jesus. The wind and sea obey him. What they had learned was that, not that it was wrong to fear in itself, but their fear had to be a certain fear that was only for God. Their fear was to be reserved for God. Because if we fear God, there's nothing else to fear. Now, I'm not saying let's not take precautions and do things wisely and things like that. But we are not going to just throw in the towel and give up and say, that's it. There's nothing else we can do. We'll give up all hope. Okay, we come to the application of all this. Jesus tells us to command to follow him. But while we're following him, we're going through this world. And in this world, we have troubles. We have storms that come. We have challenges in school and home, and we got enemies. We got tragedies that happens, natural disasters. There was a tornado in Camdenton. There was probably more. I know there were some in Texas. So there is a lot of damage that happened even today. Things happen. And some people say, why? Why do things like that happen? Well, we've gone over several reasons in other lessons. We see that there's still order. We know a tornado is a tornado because, well, it works the same way each time. We know the damage it does. It's nothing out of the ordinary in that sense. But there's also another reason. God has not taken away storms because we get reminded of things that are found in the Bible. So here there is a storm. It's a great storm. And when we're reading about it, we're not like, what's a storm? We have no idea what that is. I don't know. I guess it was very scary. How do you feel during a storm? Or maybe how are you tempted to feel? There's lightning, it's loud, and everything's shaking, and things get quiet, and then you're like, oh, okay, is it a tornado? And you're looking. We know how it feels. And in those times, then we can read this and say, oh, okay, we get it. Same thing with farming, still a thing. We still sow the seed. We know exactly what he's talking about. God has made sure that continues. Okay, storms will not go away. They will be here till the last day. And we remember passages like this. We remember passages like Job, where Job is wrestling with, why are these bad things happening to me? Why, God? And he's not cursing God, but there's times where he's questioning, what's the reason? Why don't you just let me die? Why was I even born? And he's talking like this, and that's still wrong. Now, not as wrong as his friends, but he's still struggling. And in chapter 40 in Job, what does God do? He actually comes in a whirlwind. He comes in a tornado. And he says, basically, the lesson is, I am God, Job. And that's all you need to know. I'm in control. Job had to learn that, and he did. Isn't it great that God created the whirlwind, and then Jesus over here calmed the storm? God has the power to create storms. He has the power to stop storms. And Jesus is God. Jesus calms the storms with simple words. When we're going through troubles in life, we go to the Bible, and we have passages that are very clear, very direct, very simple, and they help us. There in John 16:33, one of the many passages that we look at whenever we're going through things. These things I've spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. And we sit back, oh yeah, Jesus went through a lot. They spat on him, they whipped him, they scourged him, it's a better word, scourged, there's a lot entailed in that. They crucified him, they mocked him, and on goes the list, and yet he overcame the world. That helps us. It helps us keep our composure, knowing that he held his composure. And so when we read passages like that, then in a way we're corrected. Well, why are you being so timid? You remember what Paul told Timothy? God has not given us a spirit of fear. That word, the Greek word, means timidity or nervousness. He hasn't given us that. He's given us power, love, and sound mind. God helps us. He helps us keep our composure. God, he allows storms to happen, but he also helps us through those storms. Romans chapter 8:28, all things work together. All things, good or bad, all things work together for who? To those who are called according to his purpose. That's Christians. All things happen for our benefit, so that we can prove our trust in him. That we're going to do what he says, even though there will be things that happen. Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 1, therefore, since a promise remains of entering his rest, let us fear lest anyone should fall short of it. So we are commanded to fear, but couple that with this, we are to fear God. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6, so we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, who shall I fear? There's no one to fear. Now, will people hurt us? Yes. Can people hurt us? Yes. But if we fear God, there's nothing else to fear, because we have an earnest expectation of heaven. There is coming a time where Jesus is going to come. He's going to come down and he's going to shout with the voice of an archangel and the trumpet of God, and he is going to gather up his people, and he's going to shout, and when he does that, that's his way of ending all the pain and suffering of his people. We're going to have what? We're going to have a great calm. All the storms in life, the physical ailments, natural disasters, all the hurt, all the sinful things people have done to us, said to us, there is coming a great calm. All men, all women will go through storms of life. What makes it different for the Christians? We are with Jesus and he helps us. I don't know about all those other boats that were around them. Don't know what happened with them. But I do know what happened with the disciples who were with Jesus. They were corrected and they were helped. And that's where I want to be. I want to be in the same boat as Jesus. I want his help. I want to rely on him during tough times. Jesus understands. He was here. He knows about the storms. He knows about the literal storms, and he knows about the spiritual storms that come our way. But there's coming a time where he will wipe away all tears from our eyes. There shall be no more death, no more sorrow, no more crying, no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Revelation chapter 21 and verse 4. Maybe there's one here who needs to get right with God. Maybe you're thinking, you know what? I've been fearful. I've been struggling with these challenges in my life. I need to rely on God. He helps through his word. I need to study it more. I need to ask for forgiveness. I need to do what's right. Maybe you need to obey the gospel. Whatever the case is, let it known as we stand and sing.